I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were there for almost 40 years. Where we raised my kids consider that, home where they grew up, although.
I remember going to college time after high school.
UCI.
It was
Yeah.
nice.
That's, as you may know, Irvine was a planned community. William Perella, who was very famous at the time. So they built a university and then some housing around it for the professors. And then it's villages. Each village kind of has its own center and market and schools and everything. And it was,
Right, there you go.
okay, now let's give it a shot.
Pop it on Zoom. Enjoy, guys.
Oh, where, really? Where? Yes, up in the mountains where you eat apple pie. Yeah, I think Mom's apple pie or whatever it was up there. Yeah. This might work today. I always have trouble with this thing. I don't know why. Something between me and the electronics, but this is a different wand. So hopefully this is going to work for us. Right here in Pleasant Grove, Utah. Do we have anybody on Zoom yet?
Yes, we got Tanner.
Hello.
Hi, how are you guys? What are
Great.
your names again?
I'm Tanner.
Oh, Tanner. I thought I heard two people. No, it's Mike. I'm looking. Okay. I've been babysitting grandkids for 4 days, so excuse me. Well, your guys' time is precious, and I've got a meeting in Salt Lake at 1:30 this afternoon, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to know about you guys. Let me introduce myself. Well, no, let me start with you. Chris, tell me about yourself.
Everybody finally left the house and I kind of looked around and thought, what now?
Yeah, well, good for you. How did you find Keller Williams?
There's two brokers in the neighborhood. And I just like.
Good for you. I do too. Jenna? Military family?
And my mom just liked to move around. So I've moved 69 times in my life, bought and sold a lot of real estate, and I've been passionate about it I've thought about being an agent for probably 10 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, really love it. I'm a real estate fan.
Well, good.
But yeah, I divorced a couple of years ago. I have 3 boys. They're 18, 15, and 9. And I homeschool Asher, so he'll be with me when I come in here.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I just the area for a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I actually know Dean Crandall. He's my singles board bishop.
Oh, great.
So yeah.
Great. Hi, Sheila. Come on in. Well, that's fantastic. Do you know Sheila? That's great. Chris or Sheila, happy to have you as long as you can stay. Whatever you want, or if you just want to drop those off, whatever your schedule looks like. Okay, we'll get there. Tanner, tell us about you.
I am brand new to real estate. I've been licensed for about a week and a half. And I just moved here from Texas about 6 months ago. And
We're in Texas.
Austin. I grew up just outside of Austin.
I spent a couple of years in Luling and Lockhart.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. It's definitely warmer there. Everybody from home's been posting pictures of blue bonnets ever since, and it was during the last blizzard. So I was sending back pictures of I-15 going 20 miles an hour with snow everywhere. They all get flowers. So I'm missing that a little
Great.
bit, but it's finally warming up. So I'm excited to see a Utah summer.
Right. Well, I flew back there 2 weeks ago for a dear friend's 90th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And I flew out when it was cold and blizzardy, and it was 80 there and blue skies and everything's green. And I took pictures, stopped by the side of the road and took pictures of the blue bonnets, and then flew back in the middle of the next blizzard. So
Yep.
I'm happy to see this. Well, welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
to have you all here. So everyone is fairly newly licensed, is that right? Okay. Okay. Well, you may have heard you're coming in on a difficult time in the market, but yes and no. I mean, it's what you make it. It really and truly is. And so anyway, I'll introduce myself very quickly. I grew up here in Utah. After college, Mission College, Mission got married. My first job was in Southern California, stayed there, raised our family in Irvine with the exception of a couple of years. I made it an investment in the oil and gas business, went to be involved in that for a couple of years back to California. And you know how you make a small fortune in the oil business, right? You start with a large fortune. So that was my lesson in other than real estate. I spent my career in Southern California. I worked in corporate life in a couple of housewares manufacturing companies in sales management, and then decided to go on my own. Was involved in commercial real estate, mostly on the ownership side, but I became a court-appointed replacement general partner and ended up 44 different partnerships in California over time. What that means is that partnerships had gone into bankruptcy, real estate limited partnerships into bankruptcy. And so I was appointed by the court to go in and try and clean up the mess, which always involved dealing with the IRS because tax returns are always late or non-existent, and then trying to renegotiate leases, purchases, whatever, to try and salvage as much equity for the partners who had originally invested. In most cases, I got back a portion, sometimes a significant portion of the original investment. In a few cases, we actually made money over and above their investment. So my experience in real estate up to the point I moved up here was basically commercial, with the exception of buying and selling a house once in a while of our own. Sounds like what Jennifer was doing. Moved up here. Idea was kind of retire. Moved up here 5 years ago this month. Retirement wasn't for me. So in January of 2020, I got my license and hooked up with my partner, Colleen Christensen. I knew Colleen's sister in California, and we both were at a different, Colleen and I were at a different brokerage. We stayed there until last year, where she convinced me that Keller Williams was a better place, and I'm totally convinced of that. While I had a lot of experience in commercial real estate, and we're doing very well in residential, I have enjoyed. I went through the Ignite program here, even though I'd had a license for a couple of years, and just try to take advantage of as many of the training courses that apply to what I feel we're doing. And I went to Family Reunion last summer, and thoroughly enjoyed that. Felt like that wasn't last summer. When was that?
Like
February. I'm saying that was a couple of months ago. What am I talking about? In Anaheim a couple of months ago, and got the full Gary Keller, 12,000 agent experience, which was really great. Colleen and I, she doesn't like, she says if we talk about this and people get discouraged, and I disagree. If you understand what we've been able to do in a couple of years, then you can have the same experience. We are what's called a small partner, a small team. A small team in Keller Williams is anywhere up to 3 people. So we're 2. We are 50-50 on everything, commissions, expenses, everything else. And interestingly enough, at the end of the year, it usually turns out that the lead generation has been about half hers and half mine. So it's been a really good partnership. We did 24,300,000 last year. We're in the top 250 UCAR, and we were the second small team in our market center. So the other team had 3 people, so that wasn't fair. But anyway, so we've enjoyed success, and she and I usually teach this class together. I call her the queen of open houses. So I guess that makes me the king of open houses. But she is leaving day after tomorrow on a 2-week cruise with her husband down through the Panama Canal. And so she's decided this whole weekend, she quarantined herself from her kids and grandkids and everybody because she's so afraid of getting sick before she goes. So therefore you just get me today. So that's my story. And Sheila is with First Colony. She's the big cheese there at First Colony upstairs. And we partner with her quite a bit on the open houses, and we'll explain that when we get to that part in our discussion today. Mortgage company, I'm sorry, mortgage brokers. Yeah, and so yeah, and if Colleen and I have 4 deals under contract right now, and she's leaving town. So if I appear a little bit discombobulated, and I just finished babysitting, well, I haven't finished. I had grandkids that I was babysitting at their house since last Wednesday, and mom and dad and oldest granddaughter and that family were supposed to come back from New York last night, and their flight got canceled on JetBlue. And so I had to scramble and get the kids off to school this morning, and my 9-year-old grandson, my wife used to say, we go to Hawaii at least once a year for a week or whatever, when the kids were smaller. And she said, I hate coming home because the kids are going to punish me for a couple of days. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So this morning, my 9-year-old grandson said, I'm not going to school.
Oh, no.
So I had to deal with that for about an hour to finally get him out of bed and in his clothes and something to eat. And then one of his buddies knocked on the door. Oh, okay. And off they go. You know, oh, geez. So anyway, it looks like we have someone else. Who just joined us? Yes, you just waved at us. Please tell me your name. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Welcome.
Thanks.
Have you been on for a couple of minutes, or did you just join us?
I just joined.
Okay. Tell us just a little bit about you quickly.
I've been a real estate agent since July or August, maybe August actually. And I've done 3 transactions, and I just had this thing happen where I dropped the ball, and I'm like, I'm going back to Ignite.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. All right. Well, today is the open house class, which is something that I'm quite passionate about. Oh, I'm going the wrong way as usual. And so
Are they just, Greg, are they just on Zoom on your computer?
they are. They can see me and I can see them.
They won't be able to hear you.
You guys can see and hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a mic on and he set the camera up there or there. So yeah, so yeah, if ever you can't talk or see me, yeah, I don't need a wife. I got Colleen, I got Sheila. Okay, today we're going to cover open houses. What is the number one source of lead generation in your real estate career? SOI. What's number 2? That's why you're here today. It's open houses. It's number 2. 52% of everyone who buys a home has gone through that home in an open house. I mean, that's remarkable. You think about that. Half of the people that you're going to meet come to an open house. So every once in a while, I hear an agent that says, oh, I don't do open houses. I think, boy, that either you've got such an SOI that you don't need to do open houses, or you are missing out on half your business. Now, Colleen and I are firm believers in open houses because as we look at our past sales and database, in fact, I just had Novalee print off for me last year, just looking at the by address of where you sold. More than half of our business every year has come from open houses, more than half. And in fact, you can probably even up that number a little bit if you consider the downstream effect I can think of one guy right now, for example, Blair True. Okay, Blair came to an open house that we had in Provo last year, looking for a home for his daughter and son-in-law. So they went through the house. It was at the crazy time in the market. We had 33 offers on the house. We'd listed it for 500, sold it for 580, you know, those days. And so that just didn't quite fit what he wanted. But I had a conversation with him and I took his information and I followed up with him. About every 2 weeks, I give him a call because he had mentioned to me the open house that he was considering actually selling their home that they lived in, a personal home. And so finally, the time came where he was getting ready to sell his home. And so I said, I'd love to come visit with you and show you what we do with our listings. And you saw our open house, you see all the kind of things that we do. And so he said, yeah. So I went over and went through the house with him. And he said that he was going to have, he had actually dealt with an agent on several real estate transactions before. So he already had an agent in his pocket, right? But he said, so what I'm going to do is I want you both to give me your best and final presentations and I'll choose who I want to deal with. So he ended up choosing Colleen and I. And so we sold his house to a couple in Draper. The couple in Draper, she teaches ballroom dancing at BYU. And it just so happens that Blair's children are in international, two couples are very internationally famous in ballroom dancing. And in the basement of this home here in Orem, it was $1.2 million we sold it for, has a full-blown dance studio with the hardwood floor, the mirrors, the whole thing, you know. So of course our BYU people, the Jexes, she walked downstairs and went, okay, this is our house, you know. So from my follow-up from an open house where he didn't buy, but I followed up, then from there, we got the Jexes. And then from the Jexes, we got her mother. And let's see, we're down to 5 now out of Blair. So, okay, so that was an open house where he didn't even buy in that open house. But I met him at the open house. Now, Colleen will tell you that I'm better at follow-up than she is, but the best person is Sheila, because sometimes Sheila, when she talks, so when we invite Sheila to an open house with us, she represents the mortgage opportunity that people may be, financing opportunity people looking for. And so Sheila has been very good about working with people over a period of time to get them ready to qualify for mortgage. And then when they're ready, and she refers them back to us because that's where she met, was an open house that she worked with us. That's happened several times and she does a fantastic job. And so that's why we recommend that you have a mortgage person there with you. Have Sheila there with you. And Sheila prints up an open house flyer.
These are not, should have done this in color and normally
They're always in color, yeah.
This is up front and this is the straight from the MLS. And so you can, and Greg will tell you this, but you can do open houses for other people. You don't have to have it yours, right? But we'll put your face on it and everything, and then you can go door knocking with this nice flyer to invite people to the open house, which is another big thing that Greg and Colleen always do. And then we just, my marketing department just pulls all this information from the MLS and gets this done. And then I, of course, have to have something on the back. So I do this little thing on the back, or something, depending on the house. And so we get those, you gotta let me know as soon as you have an open house to be able to get them for you. I'll get you about 40 for free. If you want more than that, then you gotta end up paying for them. But
You say you go around and pass them out. What's in the neighborhood? Do people have friends?
Yeah,
What's in that base?
yeah. In fact, let me come back to that. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I wanted you to know what the great things that Sheila does. So why do we hold open houses? There are really 2 reasons. Why do we hold open houses? Any thoughts? And you guys on Elizabeth and Tanner, why do we hold open houses?
I think to sell the house so people can see it more better, you know, to like present it in a way that people would be like, oh, this is something, and to be able to talk to them about it while they're there, you know, and ask questions to them about what they want. So if they don't want that house, then we can find them something that they do want. So maybe to find leads and to help sell the house.
Well, you just answered both questions. Good work. You got to remember that the whole purpose of an open house is to sell the house. Sometimes we get caught up in trying to develop leads so assiduously that we forget that we're there to sell the house. And if it's your listing, then you are acting on behalf of your client. And frankly, your client could care less if you develop leads other than selling his or her home. Okay. And I just went through the experience. It's actually Colleen's sister, who brother-in-law, we just have their home under contract in Bluffdale for $1.05 million. And they have cameras all over the place. And she's listened every time I've done an open house there or done a showing. She watches and listens and calls me and critiques me. Have to know Dana. I mean, that's her. But I mean, you know, the seller, again, they could care less if we develop leads that lead into other opportunities. We're there to sell the house. Now, I'm going to recommend to you that if you don't have listings, one of the best ways to develop leads is to offer to do someone else's open house. Hey, how you doing, Bronson? Hey, I'm meeting with those guys this week. So is to develop, is to do open houses for other agents. And those opportunities are usually readily available. You can talk to other agents here. You can get them on the KW, basically on our KW website. Hey, Dean, how are you? You guys have met well, obviously you've met Dean. Jana's met Dean. She sees him every Sunday. It's just on our, I just go to KW. How do I just have a quick link on my, Dean, how do we get to the website where other agents offer their open houses? That's just on, it's on, it's just our Facebook page. Yeah, I have a link to it. I don't even think about it. It's on our Facebook page. So there you go. Yeah, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Like if that's the listing on the right. Even if they, like, sometimes they have a seller that wants an open house and so they'll know that they're gonna do one, but you can also offer.
Your
even if they
services.
Don't have an open house ready to go, you can say, hey, would you want me to do an open house for this listing?
I
And
had-
You can offer even if they don't list that they're doing one or that they need somebody.
And I had just another agent in the office here contact me a couple of days ago asking if I wanted to do an open house for them on Saturday, which with grandkids I couldn't. But so look on the Facebook page.
Here, agent one, there's a solo agent one, agent. KW Westfield Agents.
That one. Buy and learn about the act.
Yeah, yeah. So you can talk to some of the team leaders here. I was just talking to Brett a few minutes ago, Brett Wild, the Wild team, the Red Sign team. Just let it be known that you are anxious and ready and willing to do open houses. And you should usually have plenty of opportunities to do that. Now, again, remember, if you're representing the seller, even if though it's not your client, your purpose is to sell the house, number one. And so then number two, of course, is that you capture leads because of doing that. But if you're doing a professional job of selling the house, this example I gave you of Blair True, when he and I talked after, and I got his information, he said that the reason that he was willing, no, actually this was during the interview with the beauty contest. He said the reason that he was willing to talk to Colleen and I is because of the presentation that we made in the open house he attended, where it was obvious that we were representing the seller the best way possible. So people understand what you're doing. I mean, these things set your motivation. So you're there to sell the house. While you're doing that, if you're acting in a professional manner and doing a great job for the listing agent and or the seller, then you're going to get leads. I promise you, you're going to get leads. Okay. Now, as you strike up conversations with people, you get leads because of, as Chris said, people say, you know, this house is nice, but it's just not right for me. Then you say, oh, well, tell me what features you're looking for that this house doesn't have. And then you make notes of that. And then you ask if they'd be interested in receiving alerts as soon as a property that fit their needs came on the MLS. And if they say yes, you get your name and phone number and email. And then when you get back home, you go through the MLS and see if there's anything currently listed that fits their needs. And you set up an alert so that anything coming on, you get that. You know how to do that? How to set up alerts? Okay. I don't have my computer with me. Okay. I will. Yeah, I was just going to say, let's handle that right after this class. But so you want to look on the MLS and see if there's anything. Okay, you know how to do the search and how to put in the price range and the features and the square footage and the acreage and all those kind of things. Okay, that you can go back and look through and see if there's something that would they be interested in. And then I'll have Hunter teach you how to set up an alert so that in future things. The important thing is within 1 to 2 days at the very most, you're back to them with something to look at, even if it isn't the ideal thing, so that they have something from you to know that you're on the ball and that you want to work with them. Let me back up one step. What's the first question you ask them, however? Are you working with another agent? Are you already working with an agent? And if they say yes, then of course, ethics and professional courtesy are you back off completely. But if they give you that magic no, then you want to be, and this home isn't the home that they're gonna offer on, then you want to be in a position to immediately get back with them with something so that they know that you're anxious to work with them and you know what you're doing.
Well, and another thing is if you're doing it for somebody else, you can, if they don't have an agent they want to offer, you can actually be the agent to help them.
Correct. Yeah, your deal with whoever you're doing an open house for, here, at least here in this brokerage is that's your lead. That's your lead. Okay. So, you know, we're not following necessarily, but as things pop in, is this okay? It's just kind of open forum, right? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I keep walking over there. Now, there are some limiting beliefs that people have about open houses. And let me get to those. Let's see if this, oh, there you go. I really like this from Gary Keller. Nothing else about your business have a big impact as the number of leads that you have. And again, we're talking about the number 2 source of leads. And for Colleen and I, probably number 1 in reality. Okay. I don't have a listing to hold open. Well, we just talked about that, didn't we? Now you know how to get one. I don't have signs yet. You guys all have signs? Okay. Okay. Where do you get signs? Sometimes there are some here that are just generic that you can borrow. The least expensive signs are also generic that you can get at the UCAR sales room. These are ones that we have done, obviously, for ourselves, our own pictures on them. What's missing here, Sheila? There you go, my balloons. Colleen and I always do balloons. Now, because I had unexpectedly had to get grandkids off to school this morning, I didn't get to go by Smith's and grab a couple of balloons. But we actually bought our own helium tank last year. We do our own. So I called Colleen's husband and said, bring me over a couple of balloons. And he says, I'm sorry, I'm busy getting ready for the cruise. So, okay. We always do balloons, which you say, why? Well, if you've ever driven down the street and you see a open house sign and you see balloons flapping around, doesn't your eye automatically go to that? And so as silly as it sounds, we are we believe enough that we bought our own helium tank that we always do balloons. And it's funny, Sheila obviously noticed that. I normally would have had them, except for if my granddaughter, if my daughter got home last night, I would have had balloons this morning.
Well, and the other thing that Greg and Colleen do while you're on the sign issue is they do tons of signs. I mean, they do a ton of signs and they put them at very strategic corners. And when they ask people what brought you in today, Colleen does that a lot. What brought you in today? A lot of times it's the signs.
They have to have permission of the.
We put out as many as 20 signs and as few as 5 or 6.
If it was a sign off.
Yeah, that's a great thing. You have that flyer with you. You knock on the door and you say, hey, we're having an open house down the street and we'd love to invite you to come see the home. And may I put a sign on your yard just for a few hours? Hardly anybody says no. Plus you've invited them to the open house. Or use my favorite line. Hi, we're holding an open house today and you have the unique opportunity to choose your own neighbors. Do you have any friends or family who you know who would like to recommend come see this open house? Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. I may not know the answer to the questions that visitors have. Well, I don't know the answer to every question. I don't know who does. So one thing, let's assume for a minute that it's your own listing. Then you have gone through everything you need to create the MLS listing form, and that will have all the information that you put in about the house. So if you wrote it, you should know everything that's on it. But now let's take the case where it's not your listing and you just a couple of days ahead. Oh, by the way, the other way to get signs is from the agent whose house you're holding open. Just use their signs. When they walk in the door, it's you with your card, so that doesn't confuse anybody. That's not a problem. So the easiest way is use the agent sign. Second is if there's some extras here, or third, get your own, when you feel like you can afford it. This sign, between the stand and the sign, this is probably $45. About what that runs. I keep thinking of other things. Okay. So if you don't know the answers to the questions, let's say that you just got the open house, you're reading through the MLS form. If there's something you don't understand, then you can call the agent and get that. But another thing that we try and do is to have access to the seller, to let them know. People ask me questions in the open house that I can't answer that you probably can. Do you mind if I give you a call? And I've yet to have a seller that wasn't anxious to be ready by the phone. So you're going to get questions about the age of the roof, the type of the shingles, the servicing on the HVAC system, how old is the water heater? If there aren't tags on them, which sometimes there are, but if there aren't, these are all questions that the owner is the one that's going to really be able to answer for you. So I would recommend that you get permission from the agent to be able to talk to the owner directly during the open house for questions that the owner would be able to answer. Finally, at the end of the day, if there's a question that nobody seems to be able to answer, you just tell the people, please let me write this down and I'll call you back as soon as I get the answer. So, and then you call them back. That's the key. Then you call them back once you get the answer. So study, just spend some time studying. Now, I wish I had that Google map with me, but Colleen and I packed up in different boxes when we moved our office, and those are in her box. Sure, absolutely. We've done that before. Love to have you. I'm doing an open house this week, Friday and Saturday. This weekend. Another thing that if you have the time, if you're representing someone else, or for sure if it's your own listing, is to become familiar with the neighborhood. That's important. Like I said, I don't have a little thing with me, but we sold a house for $1,450,000 in Draper, and was that Bluffdale or Draper? I'm trying to think where Calabuso's house was there. I think it was not Draper. I think I've got that one here actually. I do. That one was in Draper. This is a thing that we did for it. There you go. 1,000,001. Wrong house. Anyway, right across the street from that home is an empty weed-filled field, about 8.5 acres of just dirt and weeds. And so knowing that that was going to be an eyesore for some people, I went to the city planning and zoning office in Draper and asked them what the zoning was and what was going to happen in that field. Lo and behold, they're building a city park, a really nice city park. And so then I went to the Parks and Rec division and got more information about the timing and when that park was going to be ready to go. And so I learned that they already had it out to bids for park designers, and that ultimately, when they had narrowed it down to the top 2 or 3 bids, that then the neighbors were going to have the opportunity to come in and look at the designs and have their input. And that was already in the 2023 fiscal budget. I was going to be completed by 2024. So one of the things that I did was when people approached the house and you welcome them, I'd turn them around the porch and say, you know, you see that field across the street? And everybody, yeah. So I'm being preemptive before they say, yeah, I don't want that across the street. I said, and I had a picture. This is the acreage. This is what it looks like. And it's going to be a city park, and you get to have some input. It's going to be done into, you know. And so therefore, that objection, not only did I remove the objection from the table, but it became an enhancement to the property. Okay. So that's the idea. Become familiar. If you know, go on the Sheila, what's the school ranking website? Again, I've got that on equipment. Grade school, yeah. Here's what Colleen and I do. We look at that, and if the schools are great, we tell everybody, and if they aren't, we ignore it. But at least you know, right? So that's another thing that you do to prepare. Okay. Any questions on how to answer visitors' questions? Okay.
Just so you know, I've been at open houses where they did it. Someone will ask a question and they're like, come on, I mean, you know, find out they want.
Not the answer.
Yeah, that is not the answer you give somebody, you know.
Here's the answer. Let me get you the answer to that. I'm not sure, but let me get the answer to that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. John and Dana had never told me how to turn on the water feature, that big waterfall back of their house. So and this was, you know, 2 months ago. So I didn't want to turn it on because all I see was $10,000 worth of pipes bursting. But once it warmed up a little bit, then someone's saying, oh, does that water feature work? And I'm going, yeah, I think it does. I have no idea how to turn it on. So I called John and he says, yeah, just behind the water cooler, flip the switch. The whole thing comes in beautifully, and there you go. So I put some bleach in it and it made bubbles, which it wasn't supposed to. Oh dear. Okay. Open houses don't really work because most people look online. Sure, everybody looks online. That's a benefit. That's how they find a house, for crying out loud. They don't buy online. They look online. They're still going to come to the house. So that's not an objection at all. I'm glad for Zillow and Redfin and all those people, because then, especially since a lot of the information they put is incorrect, and you get a chance to correct it right there in a house. Okay. I won't feel safe. This, especially for you women, is a concern. And so Colleen at this point usually tells a story about when she was alone holding a house open, and a fellow came in and she just didn't feel right, and he wanted her to go downstairs with him and show the features downstairs. And she just said, you know, why don't you do that? And I'll be glad to answer your questions as you come back up. Just trust your gut. If you don't feel safe, have some mace in your purse, you know, whatever.
I've also.
Priors.
Yeah, any
Yeah.
priors, if the name and the phone number don't match, just things.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. And I think this year it was $5.
Wow. I had never heard of that. That's great.
No, but if you're just random people. You don't know. the person,
Now, if it's a showing and you're a
yeah,
little
so
uncomfortable. Yeah, just an agent showing. Sure, absolutely.
Single guys interested in me saying, I want to go look at this
you
house. Or I
grab
wanna
another
visit your house.
agent.
Yeah. Get a missionary companion.
Yeah.
And you can always pat your purse and say, you know, Utah is an open carry state. That's right. But seriously, just trust your gut and the spirit. I mean, if you just feel, if you don't feel safe, you aren't. Okay, and just it'd be. I would be willing to bet in 99.9% of the cases, if there's a situation where you don't feel safe, that's not a legitimate buyer for the house. So if you have to blow them off, you haven't lost anything.
I have a guy who is saying, oh, you own this house up in Ogden. So, you know, I'd have to find someone. Actually, my uncle is a lender up there. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, last year we sold home. We would also do some land sales. We did home and land sales in 5 counties. So you go all around the place. I'd love to see you sell something in Iron County like I did. I'll bet you won't do that. Oh, is that right? Oh, see, silly, my presumption. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I shouldn't have these presumptions. Okay. Are you familiar with Sevier Canyon and up in Airport Road up in that area? No? I sold 10 acres up there, just gorgeous. Yeah, it was all set up with, the seller had used it. He and they had a bunch of kids, and they all adult children, they all had RVs. So he set up a septic system. Everybody had there were 8 connections plus a playground for the grandkids. And so they all got old, and he did, and everybody moved away. So I thought, boy, this is going to take one unique buyer, and finally found them. And they're so happy. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is obvious. Well, I like the neighbors thing. I try to get out personally. If we're having open house Friday night and Saturday, we usually do our open houses right now that it's daylight savings, like from 5 to 7 and Saturday 11 to 2. But you can pick your own hours. Don't do one after dark though. On your Friday night ones, be sure that you're done and have time to get your signs picked up and everything before it gets dark. And that's ours. But we've done, 2 to 5 on Saturdays. I mean, it's just, I like 11 to 2 because there are people who go out literally looking for open house signs on Saturday morning. And so, bring them on. And usually, and then after that up to 2, the people who have had soccer games Saturday morning are available Saturday afternoon. So that's, and of course we stay until the last person leaves. There have been times, Sheila can tell you this with us, that we've gone well past 2 o'clock, which is people that are coming. That's what you're there for. You hope, 5 minutes to, you're ready to turn out the lights, and here comes it. You don't go, oh no, you go, yay, this is what I've spent the money on to do this for. So the neighbors, I'm the door knocker in our partnership, in our team. So there are 2 times that I will try and do it. One is I try to get there on Thursday evening if I possibly can. If not, once we get the open house going, and if there's not so much traffic, she handle it by herself, then I go around the neighborhood and try to do within the neighborhood anywhere from 50 to 100 houses right in the neighborhood, okay, with a flyer. And then on Saturday, usually I will take our brochure. Now these brochures are for 2 reasons. The main reason is that on homes that are over $1 million, we always do this. And so it's there when people come in. There's the MLS description sheet the client full copy, not the agent full copy, and this, and then they have something to look at and take with them. And again, this is I can think of one lead that came off of this that turned into a sale where they just thought our brochures were hot. We haven't printed at Alpha Graphics, or I'll get you that. But lately we've been using another printer in Provo. I'll send you the contact information. Geez. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to. Get at them, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to present to them.
Sure. Sure. In a minute, we'll talk about, when I summarize, we'll talk about everything we do for an open house. Now we're kind of skipping around a little bit. So, but I will take this, for example, a house in Bluffdale that I was talking about. It's in a gated community, the Falls at Bolden Lake Pond. What is it? I can't remember what it is. The Falls at Bolden something or other. And so I went and everyone I could find home, I passed this out to everybody in that gated community. Okay, so you just be selective and realize what you're doing. Okay. The flyer is the main thing that I pass out. The immediate neighborhood, if it's an expensive home, I do these in the immediate neighborhood. And then we have a pile of these there for people to take. Oh, 25 maybe, something like that. In Bolden Falls, it was a little bit more because I tried to go to every house behind the gate. I did go to every house, but not everybody was home. I mean, that's for whatever reason. I think our first open house was over what holiday? We don't mind holidays. People say, oh, don't hold it over holiday. Other than Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving, I think any holiday works, you know. So that's good. The brochure? Okay, we call that a flyer. We call this a brochure. It's the main thing. Sheila, I'm sure glad you're here. Just jump in with anything, anytime.
Hey, will do.
Okay. Okay. My line with the neighbors, as I told you, is, hey, you got a unique opportunity to pick your new neighbors. Do you have any family or friends that you would like to see this home that you think might be interested in being your neighbors? And even if, okay, so when you're knocking on doors, passing out flyers or the brochure, if it says no soliciting, don't worry about it. You're not soliciting, you are inviting. Okay, I'm here. You guys, I keep walking off the screen. Are you still there, Elizabeth and Tanner?
I'm here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I wander. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, I'm thinking this is good.
Okay, okay. So don't feel like somebody's going to be mad with you because you're trying to sell them something or there's a no soliciting on the door. You're not telling them. You're inviting them to come to an open house. And let me tell you a secret. Almost everybody wants to see what the inside of their neighbor's house looks like. That's really true. People who have never been inside their neighbor's house, they want to go see what it looks like. And so they're very anxious and interested to come by. And so you see a lot of that. Okay, so we talk about that. You're the agent. We'll talk about staging in a minute. Benefits, open houses, that's obvious. Inexpensive, prospect to a high ROI if you follow up. If you don't follow up, not much of an ROI at all. Return on investment.
So one of the reasons I love to do open houses is that, I mean, you think about it, everyone that walks in, well, almost everyone that walks in is actually interested in the right? Yeah. And so everyone that walks in is some way interested. And so, I mean, how better do you get right in front of you that are ready to go, or at least want to go?
Welcome. How did you find us today? Are you working with an agent? There you go. Qualified leads. Well, it's up to you to qualify the leads. And Sheila, I mean, Sheila can tell you pretty quickly whether or not they're qualified. Although these days, 3% down, almost everybody's qualified, right?
Well,
I know, I'm kidding you. Ah, geez. I mean, when we put everything in boxes, I do have one in my car.
They could get you their signage sheet that's a KW, it has KW on it.
I have one in the car. We'll take a break in a minute. I'll run get it. We'll stretch and let Asher, is it? Let him have a break.
I have them,
Yeah.
these guys sometimes forget to have them sign in. The
You
one
know,
way that they say it is like, the owner would like to know who's been in the home. Yeah. So could you please sign in? Then it's not you saying, sign us in, I want your information,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
What is it, name, phone number?
name, phone number, email, and are you working with an agent, and how ready are you?
why? I'll grab it when we take a quick break. Now, I have become, I'll disagree with Sheila a little bit. I've become more selective in who I have signed in. If you've got a large crowd, it's hard to get everybody to sign in anyway. But I have come to the point where it's the people that I sense are really interested in either this home or interested in getting a home and they don't have an agent. And so that's when I'll use the lines that we talked about earlier. If they say this isn't the home that they want, or if they say it's the home they like and they don't have an agent, then may I help you prepare an offer? But if it's that's the unusual one. But if it's not the home that they want, and I then I offer to not only scour the MLS to help them find that home, but set it up so that the second one comes on the MLS, they'll be the first to know. Okay, then okay, give me your information, and then I'll have them do that on the sign-in sheet. We have become more selective in that, I think, than we used to try and have everybody sign in. And now it's really the people that we think we're going to get something, do something with, have something
What
going on.
percentage?
There are professional open house people who just love to kick tires, you know, but
I think it's
the more expensive the home, the fewer looky-loos you have, which is counterintuitive in my experience, which is kind of counterintuitive. You think, oh, let's go look at that multi-million-dollar house. But our experience has been is that the more expensive the home, the more qualified people you have actually coming to look at it. So you got to pay real close. If you get that $1.7 million listing, I can guarantee you're going to get some really qualified people coming through there. You'll get some looky-loos, but percentage-wise, I can't tell you, Chris. I don't know.
But I find too, though, that the really expensive homes, people usually know what they're doing when they're going to look at that kind of home,
Yep.
and they already have.
Yeah.
First buyer, where people come in and they just have no idea where to start, they don't have an agent, they're not
Yeah.
qualified, that you'll get more of that in the first time home buyer range than, I usually don't do the
Right.
luxury open houses with them as much because, you know, everyone that comes in,
And a lot of them are cash buyers.
one of them is
Perfect example, this open house in Bluffdale we've been talking about in the falls at Bolden Lake, or Bolden Pond is what it is. People came through. We talked about what their needs were. This didn't fit because they're getting older. They didn't want stairs, but they still want to have the large backyard because he has the most unbelievable collection of toys I've ever seen in my life when I went to their current home. 45-foot RV, 3 different Corvettes, red, white, and blue from the 1960s, a purpose-built fishing boat, on and on and on. Okay. Anyway, so they were not represented by an agent, and we're working with them right now because what they want is what they have currently in West Jordan, with the exception of a nicer home. The home is nice, but it's built in the 70s and it looks like it. And so do we remodel this house, or do we get a home that we really like? And we got no problem building these enormous garages. So we're right this minute, we're working with them on both selling their home and finding the right home for them. So that came from a $1 million plus home that didn't have an agent. But you'll get to where you can really sense that. Yeah, qualified ladies. Okay. Oh, this is any ahas up to this point. Oh dear. Okay. Let's see. Set goals. I disagree with that. If I'm going to set a goal that I'm going to get 5 new leads out of this open house and I get 0 or 1, then I'm going to be, no. There's a numerical goal. It doesn't make any sense. You don't have any control over how many people who are coming to that open house, except for your signs. You truly don't. Okay. So how can you realistically set a goal as to how many leads you're going to generate? Plus, again, top of mind, and Colleen and I have had to learn this lesson. Top of mind is I'm here to sell the house. Okay. And then I'll get benefits of leads generated. So the goal is to have the right mindset. Can we say that? Okay. Think about your market numbers. It is good to know the market numbers. Sheila's really helpful on that. She sends me a weekly thing, the market in a minute, which brings me totally up to date on what's going on in the mortgage market. And then Colleen and I every week look at the sales that we get on from MLS on what sold the previous week. So yeah, keep up with the market. Sheila, have her put you on her markets in a minute. It's really worthwhile. I read it every week, and it's got what's going on in the national market, what's going on in your market, where rates, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, be professional. This is our business. I mean, if you're selling cars as a business, you didn't know anything about the cars you're selling, how dumb would you look, right? So people look to us for real estate advice and mortgage advice. Now, on the mortgage side, what Colleen and I prefer to say is, we know the best people to help you with your mortgage. We can give them some stats, but from that point, don't try and help them apply for a mortgage. That's not our business. And you don't want to get in the middle of that. That's best left up to Sheila, okay? Consider inviting a speaker, such inspector letter. Oh, that's practice. No, that'd be crazy. Know your market. Our market is we don't have open houses on Sunday. Be safe. Okay, we've talked about that.
On the street, that's something that you don't, logically, I don't ever park right in front of that house.
No, you leave that for people
Right.
coming to. All right.
Oh, turn all the lights on, that's something you go in, anytime you're doing a showing or anything, you turn every last light on in the entire house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And make sure it doesn't stink. Put something. Do you guys have an open house kit? I think you do. So you get a kit and you just have an open house kit where you have everything you need in it. And sometimes Colleen and I will show up and the floor is soaky, right? So we're searching around for a broom, maybe stuff's on the fridge. So we bring a little bit of cleaner and a rag or some wet wipes. We have a little dustpan, for anything that looks bad. What are some other things you put in your kit, Greg?
Well, I put in the disinfectant wipes and I did all that during COVID. I wiped down every single surface and doorknob, and I don't do that anymore. But during COVID, I did. I literally had those disinfectant wipes wiped down every single place where people would have put their hands. But again, well, let's talk about staging in a minute. A lot of that comes up with this, but Sheila's right. Just be prepared for, and if they have pets, you don't want the pet there during the open house. So you don't want the pet's litter box. You don't want the pet's feeding dish. You want everything that has to do with the pet out, and you still may have a pet smell. And sometimes you can't do much about it, but usually you can do a plug-in or something, at least while you're there in the open house. Sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. We just, since COVID, but before COVID, yeah. Before COVID, we did, cookies and yeah. I mean, we did crumble cookies and root, fancy root beer drinks, all that kind of stuff. And then after COVID, everybody kind of stopped doing that. So what we have is a candy dish with some really nice wrapped candies. Those, yeah.
Well, I did that just to make the house
Yeah.
smell like chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah. If I had a real severe pet odor, I'd probably ask if I could do that.
Yeah.
But sometime if you're the listing agent and we've just been through this on a home where the owners, expensive home, but the owners had 2 cats. They got a new cat. The old cat wouldn't let the new cat use the litter box. And so the second cat had a corner in the carpet where that cat peed on the carpet. And so that odor, we had it cleaned, we had sprayed, I've gotten down on my hands and knees and sprayed, and you never know. Another house that we sold, a beautiful home by the Highland Country Club. The lady said, boy, terrible dog smell. Oh, my dog's getting old, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I have to clean up on the carpet. So I have one of those black lights, you know what I'm talking about, where you can see where the pet is urinated. And without exaggeration, there were hundreds of places. So we have them take out the carpet, put down hardwood floors before we listed the house, before we sold the house, before we went on the market with the house. Those people have probably written us one of our absolute best Google reviews that we've ever had. And they resisted it. She just didn't want to admit that her precious little dog would peed in every corner and place. I mean, it looked like the carpet had freckles when I turned that light on. And she was, I said, okay, look, Okay, so we've done away with all of the drinks. We have water and wrapped candy, high-end candy. That's what we do now. You can choose to do what you want. I love that smell of baked bread or chocolate chip cookies when you walk in, but get in the carpet. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well,
yeah,
and that's why we went away from the cookies, because we got tired of vacuuming after the open house. So just use your head. But if the owner allows it, or if it's your representing, it's your own client, and you say, I want to, make some chocolate chip cookies and make the house smell good, I find it hard to believe anybody would say no. Okay. Well, let's see. The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and focus. We're specifically talking about open houses. So the things that you want to do to manage your time are to be prepared, to get your flyers printed with CETA, to get your brochures done if it's that type of a home. We'll talk about staging again in a minute, but just be totally prepared. Have your seller on the phone if you need them. Spend time exploring the neighborhood. One second. Hello. It is. How are you doing? We will. I'm teaching a class right now. Can I call you back, Milt? Because I have a couple of questions. But yes, we are prepared. But I just have a couple of questions for you. I'll call you back. Thanks. Okay. All I want to know is we're going to present the colors. Do you want us to retire the colors at the end of your dinner as well? Okay, that's all I needed to know. We'll see you there. Thanks. All right, Milt. Bye-bye. I apologize. I'm president of Mormon Battalion Association. We have a big deal coming up. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Be sure and have your people put their jewelry and prescriptions away or take them with them. Yeah. Yeah. Well, unless they have a really big gun safe. Okay, the 3 Ps. Of course, has to do with everything that we do as real estate agents, doesn't it? But as far as open houses go, I think we've talked about preparing. As far as getting your signs out, the preparation involved with that is to uh, look at your Google map. Here's where the house is, and then expand out and see where the main thoroughfares are. Where you're going to direct people. I like, and I have a love-hate relationship with busy intersections, especially in commercial, that have commercial restaurants and fast food and banks and all that kind of stuff. I have a love because that's where you're going to get tons of cars going by and they'll follow your signs if people are interested. I hate it because it can be dangerous. Trying to get across streets, carrying signs, traffic. So just pay attention to the walk, don't walk, and still look right or left. Just be careful as you put out those signs. Which, speaking of signs, in some cities, if you have a sign that's on the sidewalk or close to it, then they might take it away. Never happened to me, has happened to Colleen a couple of times. If you got like a McDonald's or something right there, generally they're going to have a little bit of landscaping right there on that corner. You can probably put it in that. I've only had one retailer that ever objected me putting a sign right in front of their store or shop or restaurant. No, I don't. On that, if it's commercial, I just put them out. I've only had one person that came out and get your sign out of here. So just be careful on those busy intersections. Just be safe. And sometimes we'll put out, 4 signs on the same intersection with balloons. With balloons. I'm so embarrassed I don't have balloons today. At their store, yeah, it's not a problem. Now there are cases where, based on the visibility, where I will put this. Okay, so here's the sidewalk, and then here's the gutter, and I will actually put the sign right there if there is a space between that and if it's a wide enough street. Sometimes I'll stick them there. Just be smart and be safe. But what you want is visibility, and that's one of the reasons for the balloons, because if you can't put your sign in the most optimal, boy, how do you say that? Optimal. I haven't had a lot of sleep with these kids and the dog. This dog's been more trouble than the kids, wants to sleep with me. I said, I had a wife. I don't need a dog, and I had the best wife. That's why I've never got remarried. Anyway, yeah, just you want your sign seen, and if you don't get the best place, then just have balloons. We always have balloons. Okay, prospect, you're doing that right during the open house, and then you're going to pursue. And don't miss the pursue part. If you tell somebody that you're going to get back to them, do it. And I guarantee you, 72% of the people deal with the first agent that asks them to be their agent. So if somebody says, no, I don't have an agent, you got a 72% chance that they're going to use you. But I guarantee if it's in the open house, it's even better than 72% chance. Okay. So again, the 3 Ps that had in everything to do with lead generation. That's the 3 Ps, right? Am I wrong? Think of any kind of lead generation you got. In your SOI, if you're using the tags on your KW command, you've already prepared that with all the tags that you want. Then you prospect through just staying in contact with everyone, and then you pursue whatever leads they give you. Done the day before the open house. We've already talked about that. Oh, practice conversations. I'm not a big believer in the scripts, but there are people who use those very effectively. And so I'm not disparaging them at all. And I'll read through them once in a while, just maybe I get some other idea. And we have some great KW scripts, okay? The point I want to make here is just be yourself. If you got something memorized and it comes across that way, then that's not good. Have the knowledge, have the information Sheila's given you, have from her markets in a minute. Know the neighborhood, know what's going on sales wise in the area, everything else. I mean, what's happening in the market. When people ask you, is now a good time to buy or rates are so high, hey, You marry your mortgage, you date the rate. You know, when the mortgages go down, then you redo the mortgage. Oh, I like the other way. Marry the, okay, it's a new mortgage. I said it wrong. Marry the house, date the mortgage, date the rate, date the rate, date the rate. I said it wrong. They still get the idea. Okay. Okay, this is da 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 da. We've already talked about that. Neighbor information, we've already talked about that. First time buyer specifics, that is really where you turn them over to Sheila. Don't try and answer mortgage questions. You just get in trouble. I think I know a fair amount about it. I don't want to give them the wrong information. When you got somebody that professional, why would you do? You don't even need to do that. Marry the house, date the mortgage, date the rate. Okay, I got it. Prospect support. Trust and rapport is basically, this is what we're doing right here. I think we all feel like we have good rapport. We trust each other, right? That's just from being yourself, being friendly, but being knowledgeable. Qualified lead. Did I miss something?
It's not like they're just like, oh, where do you live now? Or
Oop. But here is something I've had to learn, and this has been hard for me. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? This has been hard for me because I'm naturally a friendly person. And I like to get to know people and know about them. And so for a long time, I made the mistake of diverting people's attention from the home to answer my questions about them. And when it really came through, it has before, what really came through was in a home where the buyer or the seller had been watching on their camera, and someone went down the basement and said about me, you know, we came to look at the house, not to have a conversation. So I was on me. Okay, came to look at the house, not to have a conversation. So I have learned this from Colleen, my partner. What you do is you find a place in the home, and especially a home like this, that has an aha moment when you walk in the door. And the aha moment in this house was right here. You walk in the door and then you kind of turn a corner, and there is the living room and kitchen and everything looking out onto the pool. Okay. So you want people to walk in and have that moment without being distracted by you. In this house, there was an office right in the front. So I could stand in the office. Hello, welcome. Happy to answer any questions you have. Hand them a MLS sheet, whatever, and then let them go have that moment. And people who are really interested in that home, you will find, are talking about to each other where they're going to put the furniture, which kid's going to sleep in which bedroom, how in the world do we get the pool table through that door? I mean, they are, in their own mind, they now envision that they own this house. And if you're somebody like me who wants to know all about their kids and where they're from and where they went to school and everything else, then that distracts them from that purpose. So like the guy said, we came here to look at a house, not have a conversation. So find a place in the house, and we try and scout that out before. I mean, decide before where that's going to be. Find a place in the house where you are present, but you're not obtrusive in any way. What's up? In any way, that you're not being obtrusive, that you're friendly, you're smiling. Now, if they come back to you and now they've got questions, then you engage them in the conversation about what they want to know. And, you know, if you're like me, you want to know about their family or whatever they're doing, they'll tell you because, you know, we're moving here, we're downsizing because our kids are gone. And so we need this, or we're upsizing because we have 6 kids and I'm pregnant again, you know, and so that literally happened on that Bluffdale house. And so, you know, that's when you can have the conversation, but again, keep it on the house. So do as I say and not as I do, but I'm really trying to do better. And we are successful, but Colleen gets on that, and she's right to, because people are there to look at the house, not to get to know your bright, sparkling personalities. I'll show you in a minute. Everyone comes to the door. Now it says engage in conversation. I'm telling you right now, don't. Greet.
Limited, yeah.
Just greet. Hi, welcome to the home. How did you find us? Happy to answer any questions, please. Let them have that moment. Know the market stats, understand personality types. You understand how to get current market stats off the MLS, right? You just go to the far right and it gives you the current stats on everything relative to the market. Can't remember the tab, but I know how to get there. You know what I'm talking about? On the MLS. It's on the MLS.
You can sign in and show if you want.
Oh, go ahead. I'll just show you where it is.
You already know.
Right there. There you go. Okay. So you just go over here to tools or statistic. I'm sorry. Go to statistics, market analysis, absorption report. Absorption report means how fast are homes selling. So there's all the numbers right up to date for the whole MLS. Just go through those. Just look at some of those and memorize them. A good thing to say is, you know what? Back in January of 2020, there were, what month are we in? Let's look at April. In April of 2020, there were 5,312 homes on the market. Right now, oh no, it's the wrong month. Okay, so, let's go to March. There were 6,000 homes on the market for sale. March of this year, there are 3,900. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of good statistics that you can get off of this. Just take time to study them a little bit. That's all. Here it is by county. If somebody's asking about what's going on in Utah County, and just go down here and you look across the Utah County statistics. Okay. So I said, what tab? How about statistics?
I find that when I'm, hosting parties or going to parties and socializing, everybody asks me
Sure.
about the statistics, and I'm like, I'm not even an agent yet.
Yeah.
Once you log in.
All you do just go to statistics, and then you can go to the absorption report. I'll show you what that means. For example. Okay. Yeah, I hate that. It's so hard to get to that. Okay. Can I see that from this side? Okay. So that means I want to know how quickly homes are selling in, let's say, single homes and a list price anywhere between 500 and $1 million, let's say. And I want to know what's happening in Utah County.
I've been Utah for some reason on some of them.
Oh, do you?
Well, not on that one, but searching.
Okay. Let's see, do we get, no, I don't need all that stuff. Okay, now let's look at how many are active and under contract. Where's my, there it is. Okay, there you go. So you hit the results. So that tells me right now the absorption. That means, okay, the absorption and inventory. This is the inventory of homes for sale, and this is how fast they're selling. So right now we have currently we have about 2 months worth of inventory on the market right now. Okay, that's what that means.
And they're selling in
You
a little over 2 months.
correct. That's what's showing here that we have. That it takes, if we didn't have one more home come on the market right now, it would take 2 months to sell every house that's on the market. That's what that means. Modify search. Let's see.
So I feel like historically, this is somewhat of an average market. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's gone. And Sheila can tell you this about mortgage rates. Everybody complains about more. So here you go. Now you can create on this one on your home sales graphs report. You got which quarter do I want? Do I want sold? Do I want homes listed, sold? You can play with this. There are 500 statistics in here that you can look at. and play with and do anything you want to know. Okay. So we went through a crazy seller's market after COVID, during and after COVID, because of low inventory on the market. Now a combination of a more normal pace market and higher interest rates means that we've shifted from a seller market to somewhat of a buyer market, but I'd say in reality, more of a stable market. Is that fair, Sheila? I think a more balanced market.
Well, yeah.
How much they can afford for a mortgage. Yeah.
Places are up. It's not their houses, it's everything. Yeah.
So today, what's a 30-year fixed right now, 10%?
Mid-sixes.
Okay, so mid
Low
sixes.
sixes.
Okay, if you go back and look at any chart, you'll see that we are slightly above the average interest rate for the past 20 or 30 years. Yeah, we're there. We're in the bubble right there. My first mortgage was 13%.
There's no. What I say to people is that, sellers are. Street buy downs and student buy downs and permanent buy downs and just to help sell or to help buyers get in. So because it's not so crazy, buyers actually have a better choice of what they want and are able to calmly make a decision.
Yeah,
and-
versus the frenzy we had before.
One buy down is a really great tool to me, and I can explain it to you at another time, but the money stays theirs, so it goes in with the lender. So if they don't use it all in the first 2 years, they actually get it back. That's that principle. Anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, right now, especially if you're representing a buyer, there are sellers concessions all over the place. So, maybe the seller pays all or most of the closing costs. HOA transfer fees have become a big item now. 0.5% of the value of the house, right? So if you're selling $1 million house, there's a $5,000 transfer fee there, okay? And on and on. So you've got a lot of those things that you can work. That's beyond the scope of this class, but there are a lot of those things that you can work with that will be helpful in that regard. And Sheila can sure help with some of those as well. There is one Sure.
We all know the rates have been really. And, but the people that you're talking to, most of them don't, right? I mean, a lot of my clients, they have no idea. They haven't been watching. That's
Yep.
us. We watch it all the time, right? So to come out, I mean, I had this first time homebuyer class with, and one of the agents got up and said, "Oh, rates were so much better," and da 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 da. And I'm like, stop it.
That's
You kids don't know
that was an artificial construct by the Federal Reserve. I mean, when you have near zero interest rates for 10 years after the 07, 08, 09 crash, when they try and do that, that's artificial. And these 2.5, 3.25 rates, that we'll never see that again in our lifetimes. And mine's shorter than yours, but I guarantee you, we're never going to see that again. So, put on your big boy pants and your big girl skirts, and this is what the rates are, and they're reasonable. I bought my first house right at the tail end of the whole Jimmy Carter thing, okay, and my mortgage was 13%. You had to buy a house, you had to do it. You marry the house and date the rate. So as soon as the rates came down, then it refinanced. But this is not an unusually high interest rate period. This is a normal interest rate period. So, sorry, if you missed the boat, that's the way it goes. But all those homes are going to be sold over time, and those will be higher rates again, right? Yep. So that's how it works. That's how it works. Understand personality types. Boy, ask Shoni. We need to do another class on personality types. It is so interesting. This fascinating class. I'll ask Shoni when we can do another one of those classes. Don't miss it. They have the color, yeah, the colors and other things. I mean, Hey, so yeah, personality. Yeah, we got to get out of here. The personality types are a really interesting thing, but actually, you can figure most people out anyway. But it is an interesting class. I hope they'll do it again, especially if you're dating. That's a good one. Yeah, yeah. I hadn't dated. I dated a woman for about a year. My wife passed away 8 years ago. And so I dated one woman pretty seriously for about a year and then finally broke it off. And my kids go, "Oh, thank heaven, Dad." And I said, "Wait, what are you talking about? Thank heaven." Well, because I finally figured out that she was very emotionally manipulative. And I grew up in a family of 5 boys, no girls, had a saintly mother, had a wonderful angel wife. I didn't know women could be like that. I really didn't, you know. And so I said to my kids, "Okay, here, I'm like a 16-year-old. Okay, I'm going to, so here's a new rule. You see a red flag, tell me. Don't let me waste a year. So anyway, how did we get onto that? My life. Personality types. So I found a woman that was evil. No, she just, she emotionally manipulative, and I wasn't used to that. Don't want to be. Okay, have some offer. We already talked about that. Sign-in sheet. Use command. Use KWF. Let's see. Why are they saying use command? I don't understand why they're saying use command. Use command.
Put the info in. Once you get leads, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
I don't get that. Okay. Remember okay. Remember you're there to get leads and appointments.
Answer.
2, number 1, you're there, sell the house. Okay. Follow up, we've talked about that. If you don't, okay, you spent the time, the effort, and the money to have the open house. And if you don't follow up, you've wasted a good part of your time, effort, and money. You may sell the house. You may have somebody that says, "Yes, I want this house." And you may write an offer for them. But the long-term benefit of this open house is going to be the people who maybe that's not the house that they want. You help them find the house they want. They generally have a house to sell. I just gave the example of 5 houses coming out of one lead that I followed up on. Okay, so.
Well, another thing, Greg, that Colleen usually says is that don't get discouraged if you don't get a lead out of an open house.
Yeah.
There's days that we've done open houses and not gotten one single lead, but you're guaranteed to get something if you keep doing them.
Yeah. And as you get better at it, the leads get better, get more frequent. Okay, plan an open house. I want to spend our last few minutes talking about staging. Now, just like you'll find agents who think they don't, or who don't do open houses or want somebody else to do open houses, you'll find the same thing about staging. Let me give you our philosophy and you can take it for what it's worth. We spent last year $39,000 staging houses. Now, you can say, "My gosh, you could have saved all of that money and put it in your pocket." Okay. We stage homes because we want the people to walk in, have that aha moment, and see themselves. Now, they're not going to buy that furniture, okay? But they see a home beautifully staged and presented. Quite often, you're going to overlook some of the deficiencies of the house because the home looks really nice. But you want a home to be staged. And now I'm just telling you what we do. This is not what you have to do. But we just sold a home to a couple where her knees have given out. They had to have a Rambler. They have the old Utah 1960 split level. And so they wanted to have the new home before they sold the old home. So we found them a beautiful home in a 55 plus community in American Fork. They moved in there happy as can be. Now what we have on our hands is a home that they're the original owners and they took care of things, but not a lot of the visual of cosmetic things. And so over the past few weeks, I'll be going over there tonight again. They have completely repainted the house today, brand new carpets going in. The walls in the house were mostly blue, light blue to dark blue. So now we've got them all covered up and with gripper, and then you put a coat on them what you want, which is just a slight off-white. And they have the carpet and everything else. So they have done that. Now, because we already sold them a house and got our full 3% commission, we're representing their house at a lower commission because of all the work they have to do. I even went over and spent one whole day prepping it before they started painting because I could tell the guy was just at the end of his rope. So I went over and spent a day taking the nails off the walls, spackling, sanding, everything else. Part of our full service that we do as a team here. Dean's done those things before, I'm sure. So we got the home ready. So it's being staged tomorrow. Now, I can tell you right now that that staging is going to be half of our commission to sell that house. Why do you do it? Because we're going to sell that house. Up until this year, Colleen and I have never had a home go more than 2 weeks before we sold it. That's in 3 years. Never had anything go beyond 2 weeks. The land takes longer, but a home. Now with the market a little bit different now, the Bluffdale house, we got it under contract, but it took us 4 weeks. This home
That's a question.
Yes.
So who do you use for staging?
I've got 3 different people that I'll send you contact information on.
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, so Elizabeth, send me at your realtor Greg C at gmail.com. Send me your information and I'll send you listing or staging people.
Okay, sorry, I was not by my thing, so let me.
Your realtor Greg C at gmail.com.
Okay,
Everybody
thank
do
you.
that. Okay.
Hey,
So this is a 1960s Utah split level. Why would you spend the money? Because that's going to sell the house. I can tell you right now, if they walked into that house and saw nothing but an older kitchen and older bathrooms and empty rooms wherever they looked, nobody is going to say this is my dream home. Nobody.
well, and you sell it for more.
And exactly right. You generally get, yes, I think statistics show that I read this the other day, Dean, I can't remember, something like, 10% more on a home if it's staged versus homes that aren't. There is a number there that homes that are staged get more money than homes that aren't. That's right, Elizabeth. Thank you. Homes that are staged well. Yeah. Okay. Now. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a stager, but I just want to get to a place where I don't have enough time to stage.
Great. Great, Elizabeth. That's great. Yeah. Again, we spent $39,000 last year, calendar year, on staging.
So what do you think, normally speaking, it's about to stage a house?
Well, we try
Right.
to stage every room. So generally there's a base, I'd say average stage will say, okay, it's $1,800 for the house plus, which means living room, office, kitchen, master bedroom.
Right.
Okay. Or living room, yeah, office, master bedroom. Then it's usually about $400 a room after that.
And you
So-
stage all of them, or just,
We stage every single room.
okay.
We've spent as much as $4,500 on a house.
Okay. So average though, you think it's like 2 to 3 and then up to 4, or?
Yeah, $2,500 to 35 is probably the range.
Okay, that's awesome.
But we do a lot of higher end houses. So
Yeah.
now this is not a higher end house. We're going to list this house for $420,000. And we're going to spend, over $3,000 staging it. So you go, but we don't want to sit with this house in our inventory for, the next 3 months. We want to move it this weekend.
Awesome.
So again, everything I'm saying is what worked for us. I'm not trying to, you guys have to decide what works for you, but I'm telling you, our open houses are more than half of our business. We've done very, very well on them. And these are the things that work for us.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're sure welcome. What was I going to say about staging? So we went through a few stages before we found someone we liked. We staged one house and came in and found that The master bed was set up on tables like this with a blow up mattress and then covered with the bedding. And slowly the air leaked out of the mattress and it was like this, you know. So you got to be careful who you're using. I had to go over and blow up this stupid mattress. Anyway, so you got to be careful with who you're using. But yes, yes, most of our homes are, I'd say, are higher end, but here it is, a house we're going to list at 430, actually, 430, and we're going to spend a lot of money on it. So, okay. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, it is. Sure it is. And who knows, here's what can happen and has happened. So this is like a starter home. It's in a really nice little area, older area in Lehigh. Our elementary school, Sage Creek or Seagull Lily Elementary School's down the street. The Fourth Ward Chapel's right next door to it. You've got all of the, and you're only a couple miles away from Lowe's and Home Depot and all those places down. So it's a great, young family probably come in there because it's got 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. And so the kids will get excited about it and they'll bring mom and dad over, and mom and dad and aunt and uncle, brother and sister, everybody comes look at the house. They get excited about it. And then they appreciate the professional job you've done in staging and the materials that you hand out, and the way you present yourself. And so then mom and dad a little while later, or even then, say to you, you know what? We've been thinking about downsizing. We got this big, huge house out in Bluffdale or Draper or Alpine or wherever. And we need to sell that house and get ourselves a smaller house. Because of what you've done in a $430,000 house, you may end up selling their $2 million house, or in one case, $3.65 million house. So yeah, it's not, you're making an investment in yourself, in your team, in our case, and just doing the most professional thing that you can possibly do, and that's how you come across. And that's another reason why I showed you to use those statistics. Know what you're talking about. Dean is so good about that. He is so good, and if you read his weekly or bi-weekly newsletters to us, you'll get a lot of that great information off of those. I read those very carefully. You get a lot of good stuff. Well, guys, we've covered a whole lot, haven't we? Has this been helpful to you? How about you guys online? Was this been helpful for you?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, this has been very helpful. And again, just give me your email one more time.
Your Realtor, YOURREALTOR, Greg C. @gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
You're sure welcome. Okay. So don't worry if you can't do it all at once. If everything I've told you, pick out a few things that you can implement in your style and with what you're doing, and just make it work. Make it work with your own style. And I know you can. Okay. And you'll remember this session because there were no balloons. So sad. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, you guys. My pleasure, truly. And if there's any, I'm around. If there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. You've got my card. Anything that Colleen and I can do to help you. She'll be on a cruise the next couple of weeks, bless her heart, but I'll, the nerve. We got 4 houses under contract and she leaves town. And the partner. Yep. We've been going down the calendar on this day, on this day, on this day. Okay, I'm going to shut this down, I guess.